we're dreaming of reaching our first 1,000 subscribers. Subscribe and be the first to discover new stories every day. I was at the kitchen table, laptop open, scrolling through work emails. The house was quiet, just the hum of the fridge and the occasional car passing outside. My coffee steamed in its mug, the bitter scent grounding me. Then came her footsteps, sharp, deliberate clicks of heels on hardwood. Lisa didn't speak at first, just loomed behind me, her shadow darkening my screen. Her hand landed on my shoulder, firm, not warm, and she leaned in, her floral perfume, expensive, overpowering, hitting my nose. Her voice was low, teasing, but with a razor's edge that made my jaw clench. "Maybe Friday," she said, dragging the words, "if you behave yourself." My fingers froze on the trackpad. My pulse ticked up, a thud in my temples, my throat tightening like a vice. I didn't turn around, didn't give her the reaction she wanted. My eyes stayed glued to the screen, voice flat as asphalt. "Then, if you behave yourself, I'll cover your bills." What is this, a contract marriage now? The air grew heavy. Her hand stiffened, nails digging into my shoulder, sharp enough to sting. I could feel her stare boring into me, waiting for me to backtrack or grovel like I used to. I didn't. Just kept scrolling through an email I wasn't reading, my chest tight, my palms faintly damp. She let out a sharp, "You serious right now?" Her voice spiked, shock laced with irritation. I tilted my head just enough to meet her sharp green eyes, eyes that could slice through a crowd. My mouth was dry, but my voice stayed cold. "Dead serious," I said, "just clarifying the rules of the game you started playing." Her mouth parted, ready to fire back, but no words came. She stood frozen, her hand slipping off my shoulder. My heart pounded, not from guilt, but from the clarity that this wasn't a one-off. She was testing me, and I wasn't about to fold. From that moment, the house became a battlefield, not loud with shouting or slammed doors, not yet. It was colder, quieter, a chess game where every move was meant to wound. Lisa prowled like an auditor, picking at every word, every action. "You left dishes in the sink again," she'd snap, pointing at a single coffee mug from breakfast, her voice dripping with disdain. Or she'd sigh dramatically when I asked what she wanted for dinner, like I'd demanded she solve world hunger. "Figure it out," she'd say, then saunter to the bedroom to change, door wide open, daring me to look, knowing I wouldn't. My shoulders knotted with tension, a slow burn creeping up my neck, my hands clenching under the table. I didn't let it show. Instead, I mirrored her game. She wanted transactional? Fine. I pulled my credit cards from her subscriptions, Netflix, Spotify, that yoga app she never touched. Locked her out of the joint account we used for household stuff, her shopping sprees, mostly. I didn't say a word. Just did it, sipping my coffee, my pulse steady but my fingers tingling with adrenaline. By day 3, she noticed. I was in the living room, flipping through a book I wasn't reading, when she stormed in, phone in hand, face flushed. "What the hell, Mark?" Her voice could have cut glass. "My Netflix is canceled. You trying to punish me?" I set the book down, slow, deliberate, my heart thudding in my chest, my palms slick. I looked up, voice low and even. "Punish? Nah, just sticking to the new rules. You said it's a trade, right? Service for service. I'm waiting for your end of the deal." Her eyes widened, then narrowed, her lips trembling with rage or fear. She wasn't sure which. "You're being ridiculous," she snapped, but her voice shook. "This isn't how it works, Mark. You don't get to control me like this." She turned on her heel, footsteps echoing down the hall. I didn't follow, just picked up my book, my jaw tight, and turned the page. The next escalation came at Sarah's house, Lisa's best friend, the kind who always had an opinion and a glass of wine in hand. It was a barbecue, one of those loud backyard gatherings with kids running around and music blaring. Lisa had been distant all night, laughing too loud with Sarah, throwing me sidelong glances like I was a puzzle she couldn't solve. My neck was stiff, my throat dry from the heat and the tension. I stood by the grill, flipping burgers, my hands sweaty on the spatula, trying to keep my cool. Sarah sauntered over, her smile sharp as a knife, her eyes glinting with mischief. "Mark," she said, loud enough for the nearby crowd to hear, "you've been so quiet lately. Lisa says you're pulling some weird power trip at home. What's up with that?" Her tone was playful, but it was a jab, meant to humiliate. My pulse spiked, a hot flush creeping up my neck, my jaw so tight it ached. I set the spatula down, turned to face her, and forced a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Sarah," I said, my voice calm but laced with steel, "Lisa's got a funny way of spinning things. If she's calling it a power trip, maybe ask her why she's treating our marriage like a business deal. I'm just matching her energy." The backyard went quiet, heads turning. Sarah's smile faltered, her wine glass frozen mid-sip. Lisa, standing by the picnic table, went rigid, her face paling. My heart hammered, but my hands stayed steady as I picked up the spatula again. "Burgers are almost done," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Hope you brought your appetite, Sarah." She opened her mouth, then closed it, her cheeks reddening. "That's not what I meant," she stammered, but I didn't look at her. Just kept flipping burgers, my shoulders tense, my chest tight with a mix of anger and satisfaction. Lisa didn't say a word, just grabbed her drink and walked inside, her heels clicking furiously. The crowd went back to their conversations, but the air felt heavier, like everyone knew a line had been drawn. The real explosion hit at my parents' house a week later, during our monthly family dinner. Mom's roast chicken, Dad's bad jokes, my sister sneaking her kids extra dessert. The table was loud with clinking glasses and laughter, but between me and Lisa, it was a storm cloud. She sat beside me, posture stiff, smile tight as a wire, her eyes darting to me like she was waiting for me to crack. My shoulders were knotted, my palms damp against my napkin. Halfway through dinner, I reached over, casual, and put my hand on her thigh under the table, a gesture we'd done 100 times. Her hand shot down, shoving mine away, and she leaned in, her voice a hissed whisper meant to carry. "Not in public," she said, sharp and smug, like she was scolding a child. My jaw clenched, a hot spike of anger shooting through my chest, my throat so dry I could barely swallow. I didn't pull my hand back right away, just let it hover, daring her to push further. The table went quiet. My mom, who misses nothing, looked up from her plate, her eyes locking onto Lisa. Her voice was ice when she spoke. "You deciding who gets to touch who now, Lisa?" she said, calm but cutting. Lisa flinched, her fork clattering against her plate, her face flushing red. My sister's husband coughed into his napkin, hiding a smirk. The kids kept eating, oblivious, but the adults froze. My pulse hammered in my ears, my hands tingling, but I didn't need to say a word. Mom had dropped a bomb better than anything I could have mustered. Lisa's lips pressed into a thin line, her eyes darting around the table. "That's not what I meant," she muttered, stabbing at her chicken like it owed her money. I leaned back in my chair, my hand resting on the table, and took a slow sip of my soda, my chest tight, but my face neutral. Mom caught my eye, gave a small nod. "I see it, son." That nod hit hard, a knot in my throat I swallowed down. Back home, Lisa unleashed. The second the front door closed, she rounded on me, her voice loud and shaking, her purse hitting the couch with a thud. "You're turning your mother against me," she said, her eyes flashing. "You let her humiliate me in front of everyone." I set my keys down, slow, my shoulders tight, my palms sweaty. My voice stayed steady. "I didn't turn her against you," I said, meeting her eyes. She saw what I deal with every day, and unlike me, she doesn't hold back when she smells bullshit. Her eyes widened, then narrowed, her hands balling into fists, her breath coming fast. "You're unbelievable," she said, her voice shaking. "You think you're so perfect, Mark? You think this is all my fault?" She stepped closer, her perfume sharp in my nose, her finger jabbing toward my chest. I didn't flinch, my heart pounding but my face calm. "I don't think I'm perfect," I said, voice low. "I just think I deserve better than someone who treats me like a damn ATM." She froze, her mouth open, then marched to the bedroom. That night, she slid into bed, her arm brushing mine, tentative, like she was testing me. I didn't move, kept my eyes on the ceiling, my breathing even, my chest heavy with the weight of it all. Days later, she tried a new tactic. I was working from home, hunched over my laptop in the dining room, my neck stiff from hours of focus, when she sauntered in, all smiles, like we hadn't been at war. "Hey," she said, her voice light, almost playful. "I need $300 for a spa appointment. Can you book it for me?" My fingers paused, a slow burn creeping up my spine, my throat dry. I closed the laptop, leaned back, and looked at her. "Dunno, babe," I said, voice calm but sharp. Depends on how you're acting today. You in the mood to play nice? Or is it another not today kind of deal? Her smile vanished, her eyes hardening, her hands twitching at her sides. You're unbelievable, she said, voice low and trembling. You can't keep doing this, Mark. This isn't a game. She spun around, stormed to the bedroom, and I heard a loud thud, her shoebox hitting the floor. My heart pounded, but I didn't flinch. Just opened my laptop, my jaw tight, and kept working. She crumbled so fast when I mirrored her tactics. Too easy. The next day, she tried again. I was in the kitchen, pouring coffee, my hands steady but my shoulders tense. When she came in, all business. I'm going to Sarah's this weekend, she said, not looking at me. It's her birthday. I need to get her a gift. Can I have the card? I set my mug down, leaned against the counter, and crossed my arms, my pulse steady but my chest hot. I said, tilting my head. Still trying to figure out if we're partners or just running a tab. If it's the second, I haven't seen your half of the deal yet. Her jaw tightened, her eyes flashing. You're being a jerk, she said, her voice tight. You think you can just control everything? She grabbed her purse, slung it over her shoulder, and stormed to the door, the bag hitting the wall with a smack. I didn't move, just sipped my coffee, my hands steady, letting the silence settle. By Saturday night, she'd crossed a line. It was close to midnight when the front door opened. I was on the couch, half watching a documentary, my jaw tight, my palms sweaty from the day's tension. Lisa walked in, heels clicking, wearing a tight black dress I'd never seen, the kind that screamed, "Look at me." She breezed past to the hallway mirror, checking her reflection like I wasn't there, her perfume trailing sharp and heavy. My pulse spiked, a hot flush up my neck, my hands clenching the couch. I sat up, voice low but steady. Nice night. She froze, hand on her necklace, and turned with a smirk. Yeah, she said, tone light but pointed. You're the one who said we're playing by new rules, right? I'm just acting like a grown, independent woman. My arms tensed, my throat so dry I could barely swallow. I stood, slow, and walked toward her, eyes locked on hers. Independent, huh? My voice was cold as ice. Good. Then you won't need me to play ATM anymore. Her smirk faltered, but she doubled down. It was just a night out with the girls, she said, voice rising. Don't make it a thing, Mark. You're blowing this out of proportion. She stepped closer, her eyes daring me to escalate. My heart hammered, my hands tingling with adrenaline. A thing, I said, voice low and sharp. You come home at midnight, dressed like you're auditioning for someone else, and I'm supposed to just nod and pay for it? Nah, Lisa. You wanted to rewrite the rules, so here they are. I turned to the bedroom, pulled her suitcase from the closet, and started packing. Dresses, shoes, her jewelry box. Methodical, my hands steady but my chest tight. She followed, her voice shrill. What are you doing? It was just a night out. You're acting crazy. She grabbed my arm, her nails digging in, but I shook her off. Folding another dress. Crazy, I said, turning to face her, my voice calm but cutting. No, Lisa. Crazy is thinking you can treat me like a doormat, and I'll keep footing the bill. You want to act single? Be single. I zipped the suitcase, my pulse racing, my throat dry, and set it by the door. You're free to go. Her eyes widened, her breath hitching. Mark, wait, she said, her voice softer, pleading. I didn't mean it like that. I was mad, okay? I thought you'd fight for me, not push me out. I crossed my arms, my jaw tight, my palms slick. Fight for you, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. What, like a dog chasing a car? I'm done begging for respect, Lisa. You turned our marriage into a game, and I'm done playing. I pointed to the door, my hands steady. There's your independence. Take it. Her hands shook as she grabbed the suitcase, her eyes wet, but her mouth set. She opened the door, hesitated, then walked out. The door clicked shut. My shoulders relaxed, the tension draining like air from a balloon. I sat back on the couch, the documentary droning on, and took a deep breath, my chest lighter than it had been in months. A few days later, I met my buddy Tom at a coffee shop downtown. Tom's a no-nonsense guy, construction worker, calls it like he sees it. We sat outside, the sun beating down, my iced coffee sweating on the table, my hands fidgeting with the straw, my neck still tight from the week. I told him everything, start to finish, my voice steady but my heart heavy. Tom leaned back, scratching his beard, and let out a low whistle. Man, he said, gruff but warm. She thought she could push you around, huh? You did the right thing. Nobody gets to treat you like a damn vending machine. My jaw tightened, my throat dry. Yeah, I said, voice low. Just got tired of the games. He leaned forward. I serious. Look, I saw it coming, he said. Last year at your birthday? She was all smiles for the crowd, but when you stepped away, she was on her phone, rolling her eyes. I didn't say anything then, but you're better off without that noise. His words hit like a gut punch, my chest tightening with relief and anger. At her, at myself for missing it. Thanks, I said, quieter than I meant. Tom clapped my shoulder, changed the subject to football, but that moment stuck. It was a light flipping on, showing me I wasn't crazy for drawing the line. A month later, I saw her at the grocery store, pushing a cart down the produce aisle. Lisa looked different, tired, hair in a messy bun, no makeup. My stomach twisted, my palms damp, but I kept my face neutral. I wasn't about to let her see me rattled. She spotted me, froze, then walked over, steps hesitant. Mark, she said, voice soft, almost pleading, clutching a bag of apples. Can we talk? I leaned on my cart, my pulse steady but my shoulders tense. Sure, I said, voice calm but guarded. Talk. She fidgeted with the apples, eyes darting away. I messed up, she said, voice cracking. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was frustrated, and I took it out on you. Can we try again? I miss you, Mark. I miss us. I let the silence hang, my eyes locked on hers, my throat tight, but my voice steady. Lisa, I said, slow and deliberate. You didn't just mess up. You turned our marriage into a transaction. You pushed, tested, and played games until there was nothing left. I'm done being your punching bag. Her eyes welled up, her hands trembling. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't realize how bad it was. I thought we could fix it. You realized. I cut her off, voice sharp but controlled, my hands gripping the cart. You just thought I'd keep taking it. But I don't need someone who only loves me when it's convenient. So, no, we're not trying again. You wanted independence? You've got it. Live with it. I pushed past her, my heart racing, my palms slick, but my steps steady. She didn't follow, didn't call out. I paid for my groceries, walked to my car, and drove home. The weight in my chest was gone, replaced by something lighter, freedom. 6 months later, the divorce was final. No drama, just paperwork and a lawyer who nodded when I said I wanted it clean. The house is quieter now, but it's a good quiet. I've got my routine, work, gym, coffee with Tom, or my sister on weekends. I cook for myself, nothing fancy, just mine. My shoulders don't tense up when I hear footsteps. My coffee stays hot, my bills stay paid. I don't think about Lisa much. When I do, it's a lesson, not a wound. I don't play games anymore. If I meet someone new, it'll be on my terms. Respect, honesty, no scorekeeping. Until then, I'm good. And if anyone tries to test me again, they'll find out fast. I'm not the guy who breaks. I'm the guy who walks away, and I don't look back.